All right, let's just dive right into this explainer. Today, we're breaking down the opening scenes of a truly legendary historical epic. We're going to explore this magnificent cinematic narrative and really examine the ultimate calm before a storm that's going to absolutely change the course of history. We'll be walking through the source material scene by scene so we can truly understand how the storytellers build tension, romance, and political intrigue right from the very first frame.
So we kick things off by setting the stage in the majestic city of Kannauj. And notice the narrative doesn't start with swords clashing, it starts with this breathtaking golden sunrise. The camera glides over these grand palaces, serene temples, lush royal gardens, and super bustling markets. Bathed in this soft golden light, the scene brings a highly cinematic, vibrant, and prosperous world to life right off the bat. It creates this deeply majestic atmosphere, establishing Kannauj as a kingdom of just immense wealth and tranquility. And the big takeaway here is how the story purposefully establishes this peaceful grandeur first. Because, you have to show what a kingdom has before you show what it stands to lose.
Section 1. The Grandeur and the Warrior Princess. Let's meet the dynamic characters living in King Jayachandra's magnificent royal palace, starting with a truly captivating lead. Look at Princess Sanyogita's dual nature presented here. On one hand, she's gracefully walking through the royal gardens in elegant Rajput attire, wearing heavy traditional jewelry. But at the exact same time, she is actively practicing archery and horseback riding. The source notes that they use these cinematic slow-motion shots here to capture her royal presence, sure, but also to highlight her intelligence, confidence, and immense courage. It's just a fantastic visual storytelling technique. Before she even speaks a single word, we know we're dealing with a highly capable, active warrior princess who totally commands her environment.
Section 2. Building the Unseen Hero. Now, what's really fascinating to me is how the story introduces King Prithviraj Chauhan entirely through the power of myth before he ever even steps on screen. We see his presence building step by step. First, we're inside the palace, and the outside world is brought in through travelers, poets, and royal messengers. They're all talking aloud about the bravery, the legendary victories, and the incredible leadership of the king. Second, while all this is happening, Sanyogita is listening with deep admiration, purposefully surrounded in the background by scrolls and paintings of past Rajput heroes. And third, the whole thing culminates in her receiving a beautifully painted portrait of Prithviraj himself. By building the hero through the words of others and visual artifacts, the story elevates him to a larger-than-life legend in the mind of the princess, and honestly, in our minds too.
Which brings us to this beautifully descriptive quote straight from the source text. She studies the portrait with curiosity and admiration. The scene notes highlight soft sunlight streaming through elegant palace windows, creating this really calm, cinematic mood. We get these emotional close-ups of the princess reacting to the painted portrait, and wow, this is such a powerful storytelling choice. It cements a romantic buildup completely through her internal, emotional reaction to a painted image. She's falling in love with the legend, the stories, and the painted face of a guy she hasn't even met. Talk about the ultimate 12th-century long-distance relationship, right?
But here's the crucial point. We get this sharp pivot from the quiet, sunlit elegance of the palace interiors to the harsh, shadowed realities of geopolitics. Because while the daughter is looking at a portrait with love, her father is looking at the exact same man with absolute dread.
Section 3. Brewing Political Storm.
Let's transition into the tense political arena where regional stakes are rapidly escalating. Notice the dramatic juxtaposition happening simultaneously within the walls of Kannauj. On one side, you have Sanyogita's romantic anticipation. She views Prithviraj with admiration for his bravery, set against a backdrop of really calm palace interiors. But jump over to the other side, King Jayachandra's strategic anxiety. For the king and his ministers, Prithviraj is a massive threat because of his growing influence. Instead of paintings in soft light, they're huddled over maps of northern India spread across a royal table, engaging in incredibly tense debates. The atmosphere in the king's chamber is heavy, entirely foreshadowing a massive future conflict. It's a brilliant contrast, literal love and war brewing under the exact same roof.
Section 4. Two Kingdoms, One Destiny.
As King Jayachandra and his ministers stress over this growing influence, the narrative actually accelerates toward a breathtaking climax. The source describes a sweeping cinematic montage that serves to link our two leads. The film alternates rapidly between Prithviraj, actively ruling over in Delhi and Ajmer, and Sanyogita, residing back in Kannauj. This cross-cutting technique is just a staple of great visual storytelling because it visually connects two people who are physically miles apart.
They're living their separate lives, completely unaware of how destiny is about to aggressively intertwine their futures.
And this brilliantly illustrates the emotional peak of the sequence. As the montage plays out, the source notes that epic orchestral music begins to swell, building immense emotional anticipation. Both characters in their respective kingdoms step out and gaze toward the horizon. They're looking into the distance toward each other without even knowing it. This matters because even though they are physically separated by vast geography, narratively, the storytellers have just bound them together inextricably.
The cinematic setup finally wraps up with this striking image. Night falls simultaneously over the grand palaces of both Delhi and Kannauj. The camera detaches from our characters and slowly rises up into a vast, star-filled sky. This is a classic visual metaphor. It hints that the events of the day have set something much larger into motion. It's the ultimate calm before the storm, signaling to us that the next chapter is going to shift from quiet anticipation to actions that will echo through time.
So, as the scene fades to black, accompanied by that dramatic orchestral music, we're left with this gripping question. How will the collision of these two kingdoms change the course of history forever? We've seen the seeds of a legendary romance planted in the heart of a warrior princess, and we've seen the seeds of war planted in the fears of a powerful king. The stage is perfectly set. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep this incredible contrast of love and strategy in your mind as you explore the rest of this epic tale.